What's up? Today we're going to be looking at 5 exercises to help you either achieve or improve your jump to handstand. Now we're going to start getting physical, and I have of course enlisted the help of my wonderfully talented, wonderfully acrobatic, wonderfully beautiful, wonderfully wonderful, wonderfully annoying partner, Isis. I thought you said you could do the one. You told me you could do the one, and then you did that.
That was a drunk one.
This first exercise doesn't have a name, but after seeing Isis do that terrible drunken worm, we've decided to name it the sober snail. You're going to kneel on the floor as if you're praying to some kind of acrobatic god. No, just kneel. You're going to put your hands down so the backs of your hands are in line with your knees and your toes are tucked underneath. You're going to move your shoulders forwards. From there you're just going to straighten your knees, push your legs straight. You're going to keep your back rounded and make sure the shoulders stay in front of your hand. We're trying to isolate the shoulder in the space and move the rest of the body around the shoulder. We're trying to teach your body what it means to load the shoulder. This happens when the arm is straight and the shoulder is in front of the hand. We're just going to show you a couple of things that can go wrong with these exercises so you know what not to do. The first thing that can go wrong is that as you go up, you bend your arm. So we want to try and keep the arm nice and straight, nice and locked out. The second thing that can go wrong is you can confuse pushing your shoulders tall and pushing your shoulders open. This is a really key thing that a lot of people make a mistake on. The third mistake you can make is that as you go up, you don't keep your spine rounded and you make your spine longer by extending. It puts the head out of position, it puts the spine out of position, and it becomes much more difficult for the shoulders to hold. The most key, most important, most crucial, number one thing for jumping to handstand is that the shoulder has to come forwards of the hands. You're going to hear me say this so much in this video, but it bears repeating as it's so important. Try and do 3 sets of 10 to 15 repetitions for this. If at any point during those sets your form breaks down and things start to go wrong, stop, rest, and then go again. We're trying to teach the body the specific patterns and positions it needs to learn. And if you just power through with bad form, your body will retain that bad form.
You know my middle name? Pow!
Such an idiot. Our second exercise is going to teach our bodies how to maintain this spinal flexion we've been talking about. For this, you're going to need to be able to hold on to something a couple inches off of the floor. If you don't have something obvious to hold on to like we do, you can always hold on to your partner's ankles. We're going to lie down on our backs, lift our feet up slightly into a nice kind of hollow position. Your lower back is going to be pressed firmly into the floor. You're going to bring your knees into your face with your heels to your butt. From there, you're going to unfurl yourself back down to the starting position. The goal is to move one vertebrae at a time and be under constant tension. You can also adapt this exercise to help with straddle to handstand or with piking to handstand. Tuck is going to be the easiest, straddle the mediumest, and pike the hardest. Again, we're going to aim for 3 sets of 10 to 15 repetitions. If your lower back begins to fatigue, stop, rest, and then start again. The third exercise is called bunny hops. You're going to crouch down on the floor with your hands about the same distance away as they were for the first exercise. You should already have a little bit of weight in your hands. From there, you're going to push up through your legs and your feet to jump your hips up. If you imagine handstand is 100%, we're aiming for sort of 80 to 90%, and then we just want to suspend there for as long as possible. It's okay if we only make it to 50 or 60 the first couple times, just make sure that each time you're getting a little higher. On the way down, you're trying to lower as slowly as possible. Make sure you keep your heels close to your butt and your knees close to your chest. Keep your spine nice and rounded like we found earlier. The most common mistake you're going to see with this is that as people jump, instead of pushing tall into their shoulders, they push their shoulders backwards. This mistake is very common, and it happens if you don't let the shoulder come in front of the hand and then you don't keep the shoulder in front of the hand. Do a couple sets of 10 to 15 repetitions, do them traveling. So you just do one after the other, down the room. Little bunny hop, little bunny down. Little bunny hop, little bunny down. Little bunny hop, little bunny down. Little bunny hop. The next series of exercises is titled Goldilocks and the Forward Roll. There are 3 things that can happen when you jump to your handstand. You either go too little, you go too much, or you go just right. The biggest wall people hit is they frequently end up going too little, and they have an inability to get their hips on top of their hands. So we're just going to blast straight through that wall with some forward rolls. The idea behind this is that we're going to overtrain your body's ability to get the hips on top by teaching it something where the hips have to not only go on top, but also over. We're going to very quickly look at how to make your body roll. Lie down flat. You're going to lift your shoulders and head off the floor. You're going to lift your legs off the floor. Your lower back is now firmly pressed into the floor. Bring your knees into your chest. And then you're just going to kind of rock back and forth. If this is difficult, you can hold onto your knees and you can pull them in a little bit to help you rock. Now we know how to make our body roll. We're going to look at the kind of full forward roll. You're going to crouch down, put your hands on the floor slightly further in front of you than you did for your bunny hop. You're going to push forward with your legs. Your arms are going to bend, but don't let them collapse. From there, you're going to tuck your chin to your chest and round your spine, and you're going to roll over and stand up without using your hands. The first one you're going to do is going to be super tame and slow. Once you're comfortable with one, and one becomes really smooth, try and do 2 in a row. So you're going to come straight out of your first one and into the next one immediately. Once doing 2 is really comfortable, we're going to try forward roll straight into our little bunny hop. Try and use the momentum of the forward roll to help you get your hips up. Exercise 5 of 5 is just going to be a jump to tuck handstand. We've given your body all the pieces it needs, and now we're just going to put them all together. Same as before, you're going to crouch down, hands a little bit in front of you, put some weight into your hands, and you're going to push off the floor with your legs and your feet, just the same as we did for the bunny hops, except you're going to give a little more juice because now instead of 90%, we want to hit 100%. Key element of this is that in that moment of suspension we found in our bunny hop where we were at 90%, what we're going to do is just push a little taller in our shoulders and try and rotate around to get our hips on top. At this stage, don't worry about shooting your legs up to the ceiling, just really focus on getting the hip on top of the hand with your knees close to your chest. Don't confuse pushing your shoulders open with pushing your shoulders up. If this keeps happening to you, don't be afraid to go back to the first exercise and spend some more time with it to really understand what it means to have your shoulders in front but push tall. If you're afraid to go too much and fall over the top, we already have learned an escape plan for that, the forward roll. So if you do go too much and it's too late to half turn out, just bend your arms, tuck your head and safely forward roll away into the sunset. If you're still super afraid of going over the top, we can enlist the help of a spot. I'm going to take my 2 fingers and place them in the crease of her hip, put the thumbs on the back of her hip, and as they jump, I'm just going to take a little bit of the weight and help put them into place. Okay. When you spot people jumping the handstand, make sure you give them enough space for their shoulders to actually travel forward. A lot of the time we see people spotting and they use their knees to block the movement of the shoulders. This is kind of just reinforcing a bad habit and it's making me as the spotter do the work that she should be doing. Don't over-rely on your spotter. So if you can do 90% of the effort, they only need to do 10%. I don't want to look like I like you too much.
On my hand.
Stop. I said, leave the teddy bear alone. It cannot be overstated how important being able to jump to handstand is. Don't be one of those people who can't jump to handstand on the floor, but who always ask to fly standing hand to hand in the park. We have this philosophy both in our coaching and in our training. I hate to call it a philosophy because now we sound like wankers. You should always train a complex movement in the simplest environment possible to later on help you put that complex movement into a complex environment. Jumping to handstand on the floor is a much simpler environment than doing it on a person where we've suddenly added all these layers of complexity. If you can't jump to handstand on the floor consistently, you have no business doing it on a person. We have a saying in England, don't try and make tea for the whole office if you can't even find the teapot. Jumping through tuck is mechanically the easiest way to get to handstand, so I recommend starting here with these exercises and then later on down the line you can look at straddling to handstand. Once you understand the mechanics of jumping through tuck, the other variations will come much, much easier. If you struggle with jumping to handstand, keep these exercises as a regular part of your training or add them to your warm-up. I hope you found all of this useful. Don't get disheartened if this doesn't come instantly. These skills are not simple and not easy. We have a good friend Benjamin who is forever spouting words of wisdom. I'm going to leave you with one of his gems. Rome was not built in a day, but they did build every day.
True story.
True story.
Don't copy me.
Don't
talk to me.
Isis, I'm trying to make a video. All I wanted you to do was sit there with a Viking hat on, quietly, and you could even do that.
I say true story.